There are people who defy the passage of time. You see them walking down the street glowing with an almost otherworldly light, not because of what they wear or how they style their hair, but because something deeper radiates from within them. They might be 45 and look 28. Not in a forced artificial way, not like someone clinging to youth out of fear. No, these people seem untouched by the years, as if time forgot about them. While the world chases the next miracle cream, the next surgical fix, these individuals seem to age in reverse. And what's most fascinating? It's not science that explains them, it's spirit. Because what if the real key to youthful energy, radiant skin, and glowing presence has less to do with biology and more to do with energy? What if looking young isn't just about genetics or routines, but about the soul's alignment with truth, peace, and purpose? In this video, we're diving deep into 9 spiritual reasons why some people seem to age slower, look younger, and glow brighter. Not from vanity, but from something sacred. Reason 1. They carry light, not baggage. You can spot it in their eyes. There's no heaviness there, no storm cloud of resentment or guilt hanging over them. They've let go of the weight most people carry, the regrets, the grudges, the old wounds replayed over and over like a broken record. Instead, they walk through life light-footed, as if their soul is traveling without extra luggage. This isn't about being naive. It's not that they haven't been hurt. They have. But they've chosen to release what wasn't theirs to hold. They've cried the necessary tears, faced the inner shadows, and come out clean on the other side. Spiritually speaking, every emotion we suppress stores itself in the body. Every secret resentment, every buried grudge, it ages us. It pulls down our posture, dulls our skin, and drains our energy. But when someone chooses forgiveness, not for others but for their own peace, they literally brighten. Their face softens, their energy lifts, their whole presence becomes lighter. Looking young isn't just about removing wrinkles. It's about removing emotional density. Because when the soul is free, the body follows. Reason 2. Their soul has let go of the burden of time. There's something remarkable about a person who is no longer racing against the clock, who no longer counts wrinkles, birthdays, or deadlines as measures of their worth. These are the souls who have detached from the frantic pace of modern life, and in doing so, they've slowed the aging of their very essence. You see, time isn't just a number. It's a pressure, a psychological weight. Most people carry time like a chain wrapped around their neck, always running out of it, always late, always afraid that life is slipping through their fingers. That stress doesn't just live in the mind. It carves itself into the face, into the body, into the way someone walks and speaks. But there are a few people, very few, who have made peace with time, who are no longer prisoners of the calendar. And when you meet them, you notice something strange. They don't seem to age like everyone else. Why? Because they are not living according to man's time. They are flowing with soul time, with divine rhythm. These are the people who wake when their spirit tells them to, who eat when their body asks for nourishment, who speak only when the heart compels them. They no longer live on someone else's schedule. And this freedom rewrites their biology. Letting go of time doesn't mean abandoning responsibilities, it means abandoning anxiety. It means releasing the fear that you're falling behind, or that you must constantly prove your value through productivity. When that fear dissolves, a new kind of vitality rises, and it's visible in the softness of the eyes, in the lightness of the step, in the way they smile without reason, just because they're here. Their skin might still grow older, yes, but it doesn't harden, it glows, it breathes, it tells the story of peace, not pressure. When you are no longer at war with time, your body stops fighting too. This is why monks, yogis, healers, and deeply spiritual people often look ageless. Their radiance doesn't come from genetics or potions, it comes from their relationship with life itself. The soul that has let go of the burden of time no longer fears death. And because it no longer fears death, it stops dying prematurely. They are not rushing. They are not counting. They are simply being, and in being, they shine. Reason 3. They carry light. Instead of wounds, When you look into someone's face, you're not just seeing skin, you're seeing a story. The weight of what they've carried, the battles they've fought, the memories they've buried deep beneath the surface. Most people grow old not because of time, but because of pain. Emotional pain ages us far more than the passing of years. The betrayals that were never healed, the shame that was never released, the anger that was never forgiven, all of it becomes a silent gravity that pulls the face downward, dims the spark in the eyes, and stiffens the way we move. But then, there are those rare souls who seem untouched by all that. It's not because they've never been hurt. No. In fact, they've often suffered more than most. But what sets them apart is that they chose to transcend the wound, not become it. They didn't let pain rot in their soul like stagnant water. They purified it, transformed it, offered it back to the universe as wisdom. These are the people who carry light instead of wounds, and that light makes them glow. Their presence feels healing, not heavy. Their words feel like warmth, not warning, and their face, it carries a softness, a serenity, as if they've cried the last of their tears and now walk only with understanding. You can feel it in their silence. You can sense it in their smile. They have forgiven, not for the other person, but for themselves. They have let go, not because it was easy, but because holding on would have turned them into someone they didn't want to be. And that choice, to choose love over resentment, to choose peace over pride, preserves their spirit. It's like an eternal spring within them, constantly cleansing, constantly renewing. And the body listens. The nervous system calms. The breath deepens. The hormones rebalance. The skin softens. Healing is no longer something they chase. It becomes the atmosphere they live in. This is why they look younger. This is why they feel timeless. They are not carrying the past on their back like a cross. They have buried it with grace and risen from it, not bitter but brighter. And when you're no longer made of pain, you begin to radiate something holy. That radiance, my friend, is the most powerful anti-aging force in the universe. Reason 4, they live in alignment with their soul's truth. There is a certain exhaustion that comes from living a life that is not your own, a deep, cellular fatigue that no amount of rest can heal. It's what happens when you wear a mask for too long, when you shapeshift to please others, when you silence your inner knowing just to belong. Most people are aged not by time, but by disconnection. Disconnection from who they really are, what they really want, and what their soul came here to express. But those who look younger than their age, they are often the ones who refuse to betray themselves. They didn't live to impress their parents. They didn't twist themselves into knots to fit a mold. They didn't chase someone else's version of success. They walked their own path even when it was lonely. They honored the whispers of their intuition, even when logic screamed otherwise. They chose authenticity over approval, even when it cost them everything. And in doing so, they aligned themselves with a deeper current of life, a divine intelligence that flows through all things. When you are aligned with your truth, you are in harmony with the universe itself. Your body stops fighting you. Your spirit stops shrinking. Your heart stops hiding. There's an ease that enters you, a clarity, a lightness of being. The furrow in your brow begins to fade. The tightness in your chest begins to loosen, and the joy that was once rare becomes your resting state. These people may not have the perfect diet. They may not follow every wellness trend. But what they do have is integrity, not just in the moral sense, but in the energetic sense. Their outer life reflects their inner truth. They're not split in two, they are whole. And wholeness is beautiful. Wholeness is magnetic. Wholeness is youthful. They may have wrinkles, but they do not have regrets. They may have gray hairs, but their spirit is alive and rebellious. They may walk slower, but their soul is sprinting toward the stars. When you live in alignment, life becomes medicine. And that medicine shows on your face. It's not about looking good for others. It's about being so deeply at peace with yourself that beauty begins to rise from within, like light from a lantern that never goes out. So the next time you meet someone who seems ageless, Look beyond their skincare routine. Look into their eyes. Listen to their story. Chances are what you're seeing is the glow of someone who dared to live their own truth and never apologized for it. That glow? That's the soul smiling through the skin. Reason 5. They let go of heavy emotions. There is a weight that time cannot measure. It clings to your heart. It drags on your posture. It dulls your smile. That weight is emotional. Unhealed pain, suppressed grief, lingering resentment, quiet shame. Most people carry it unknowingly. It lives in their muscles, their gut, their face. You can see it. The tight jaw from years of silence, the stiff neck from words never said, the hardened eyes from betrayals never grieved. This is how people age, suddenly, then all at once. But the ones who look younger than their age? They made a radical decision, to feel it all and let it go. Not because it was easy, not because they were more spiritual or more evolved, but because they were tired. Tired of holding what was never theirs to carry forever. These people cried when it hurt. They screamed when they needed to. They wrote letters they never sent, they forgave. Not because others deserved it, but because they deserved peace. They didn't rush the healing. They didn't pretend to be fine. They allowed themselves to break open, so something new could grow. And in that process, something lifted. The face softened. The shoulders dropped. The breath deepened. The eyes became brighter like windows freshly cleaned after a storm. Because emotions, when unprocessed, stagnate. They create shadows in the body, wrinkles in the spirit. But emotions, when fully felt and released, become fuel. Fuel for compassion, fuel for art, fuel for growth. These are not people who never felt pain. They are people who transformed pain. They turned sorrow into softness. They turned heartbreak into wisdom. They turned fear into grace, and the result? Their presence feels lighter, their energy feels cleaner. They glow, not from makeup, not from lighting, but from emptiness. The kind of emptiness that comes after a deep exhale, when you realize you finally let go. And here's the spiritual truth. The soul is ageless, but when the heart is burdened, it cloaks the soul. Only when you release that weight can the eternal part of you shine through again. This is why some people seem untouched by time. It's not because they never suffered. It's because they refuse to let suffering define their face. Reason 6. They embrace stillness in a world addicted to speed. Stillness is rebellion. Most people are constantly in motion, scrolling, working, talking, rushing, always moving toward the next thing, as if aging could be outrun, as if meaning could be manufactured through busyness. But there are a few, very few, who choose differently. They pause. They breathe. They sit in silence without needing to fill it. These are the ones who look younger without trying. Not because they've found some anti-aging secret, but because they've stepped out of the noise, out of the chaos, out of the draining rhythm of a society that worships burnout. Stillness is not laziness. It is a sacred presence. It is the quiet confidence of someone who is not afraid of their own company, of someone who no longer needs to chase every stimulation just to feel alive. Because here's what happens in stillness. The body recalibrates. The nervous system softens. The mind becomes clear. And the spirit returns. In stillness, the stress that prematurely ages the body begins to dissolve. The cortisol fades. The jaw relaxes. The breath deepens. And over time, that calm becomes visible in the face, in the posture, in the way they enter a room without force but with presence. These people don't talk louder to be heard. They don't hustle for validation. They move slowly, intentionally, and the world somehow makes room for them. That is power. That is beauty. There's a kind of timelessness that begins when you stop rushing to become someone and simply allow yourself to be. It's not about meditating for hours or retreating to the mountains. It's about moments. A few minutes of deep breath before you start the day. A quiet walk without your phone. A night alone without the need for distraction. Stillness teaches you to listen, to your body, to your soul, to the wisdom that doesn't shout but whispers. And in that listening, something changes. Your cells begin to regenerate not from fear but from peace. Your face begins to radiate not from vanity but from alignment. You look younger, not because of what you added but because of what you stopped chasing. This is the paradox. The more still you become inside, the more alive you look outside. It's not a trick. It's a return to the original rhythm of your being, untouched by urgency, untouched by time. Reason 7. They release the past. You can see it in their eyes. Not the absence of pain, but the absence of attachment to it. These are people who have suffered, yes, who have been hurt, betrayed, abandoned, misunderstood, just like anyone else. But what makes them different is what they chose to do with the pain. Most carry the past like a shadow chained to their back. Old grudges, regrets, lost loves, mistakes that loop endlessly in the mind, and it shows in their posture, in the tension around the mouth, in the bitterness behind a forced smile. But those who look younger than their age, they've made a quiet decision to let go, not because they forgot, but because they refuse to let pain harden them. You can feel it in their presence, a kind of lightness, not the naivety of someone untouched by life, but the wisdom of someone who has walked through fire and refused to carry its ashes. They do not retell their tragedies over and over. They do not rehearse old arguments in their heads. They do not let the past take up space in the present, because they understand. What you carry emotionally, you carry physically. What you cling to internally reflects externally, and nothing ages the soul or the body like resentment. Forgiveness is not a favor to the other. It is freedom for yourself. It is how the spirit exhales and the cells can breathe again. There is a kind of radiance that returns when you stop clutching the past like a trophy of your suffering. When you stop saying, "This is who I am because of what happened," and instead say, "This is who I've become in spite of it." Releasing the past does not erase the depth. It deepens it. It transforms sorrow into softness, scar tissue into grace. This inner release has a visible counterpart. The eyes soften, the jaw unclenches, the energy becomes inviting. Even their laugh changes. It's fuller, unburdened, alive. They don't live to prove anything to the ones who hurt them. They live as if those wounds were merely chapters, not the ending, not the identity, not the story. This is why they look younger, because every morning they rise without dragging yesterday with them, because their energy moves forward, not in reverse. They are not defined by pain. They are defined by how gently they put it down. That is beauty. That is spiritual youth. Reason 8. They protect their energy in a world addicted to noise. Those who age slowly learn to live differently. They do not run from silence. They choose it. There's something sacred about the way they move. Not rushed, not reactive. They are deliberate, not because they are slow, but because they understand the cost of chaos. They don't give their energy to everyone. Not out of pride, but out of preservation. You see, aging isn't just a physical process, it's spiritual erosion. And what wears you down the most isn't always time, but who and what you allow access to your spirit. Some people carry storms inside them. Some environments drain you before you even speak. Some conversations age you, not in years but in spirit, but those who seem ageless. They are careful. They know that peace is not something you find, it's something you build. And to build it, you must protect it. They do not over-explain. They do not argue with those committed to misunderstanding them. They don't chase approval, because they've learned validation that can be taken away was never nourishment to begin with. They understand something most don't. You become what you absorb, and they absorb selectively. It's why they're drawn to nature, to books, to deep, slow conversations that leave you feeling more whole than hollow. To people who don't compete with them but see them, they are often called too sensitive by those who mistake numbness for strength. But their sensitivity is not weakness, it's awareness. It's knowing what is theirs to carry and what is not. So they turn off the news when it poisons the soul. They walk away from gossip like it's acid to the skin. They say no, without guilt, without justification, because they've seen what happens when you don't. They've felt the exhaustion that comes from giving too much. They've lived the burnout of trying to be everything for everyone. Now they choose differently. They choose space. They choose silence. They choose themselves. And that choice, again and again, adds not just years to life, but life to the years. That's why they glow. Why they seem untouched by the corrosion of the world. Because their energy is not a battlefield. It's a sanctuary, and only those who honor it are allowed inside. Reason 9. They live in alignment with their soul. There is a rare kind of person in this world. One who walks through life not chasing time, but walking with it. They don't try to look young. They simply are young. Not because their skin is tight, but because their spirit is free. They carry a kind of peace that can't be faked, a quiet confidence, a softness that's not weakness, but the strength of someone who has nothing left to prove. Why? Because they live in alignment. Their outer life doesn't contradict their inner truth. They don't wear masks. They don't contort themselves to fit in. They've stopped trying to be what the world wants and started becoming who they were always meant to be. And that changes everything. They are not always the loudest in the room, but they are the most alive, because they aren't at war with themselves. No more pretending. No more betraying their intuition. No more chasing empty things that feed the ego, but starve the soul. They laugh more, cry when they need to, say what they mean and mean what they say. There's no second guessing, no performance. They've made peace with their past. They've let go of roles that were never theirs to play. And in that surrender, they found something rare. Themselves. And when you find yourself, truly find yourself, life softens. The wrinkles around your eyes become stories, not flaws. Your smile lines deepen with every real joy, not every fake one. You stop comparing because you're finally content with who you are, and contentment, that is the elixir of youth. These people aren't just aging well, they're living well. They don't diet out of fear, they nourish their bodies out of love. They don't exercise to punish themselves, they move because it feels good to be alive. They don't seek the fountain of youth in products or procedures, they've found it in authenticity. Because authenticity is regenerative. It breathes life back into tired bones. It heals what shame and self-abandonment once fractured, and you can see it in their eyes. The sparkle, the ease, the depth of someone who has nothing to hide and everything to give. They are proof that the soul does not age. Only the masks do. And once the mask falls away, so does the illusion of time. They don't fear getting older. They welcome it, because each year brings them closer to truth, to freedom, to God, to peace. And that peace, that deep, full, unshakable peace, is the most beautiful thing a person can wear. It radiates from them, it moves with them, it keeps them young, not just in body, but in presence, in light, in spirit. That is the final reason. The deepest secret. And perhaps the only one that ever mattered. They live in alignment with their soul. And that changes the way time touches them. Forever. So now you know. Looking younger isn't always about genetics, skincare, or luck. It's something deeper. Something quieter. Something no mirror can measure, but everyone around you can feel. It's the result of how you live, how you think, how you love, and most of all, how closely you walk with your own soul. When your spirit is light, your body follows. When your heart is open, your face softens. When your thoughts are clean, your energy radiates. And when you're living in truth, time stops chasing you. You begin to glow. not from the outside in, but from the inside out. The people who age gracefully, who seem untouched by the years, they're not escaping time. They're aligning with eternity. And so the real question is not, why do they look so young? The real question is, am I ready to live that honestly, to love that deeply, to shed what isn't mine and become who I truly am? Because youth isn't something we lose, it's something we forget. And the moment you come back to yourself, the moment you start living in alignment with what's real, you'll remember, and they'll see it in your eyes. Thank you for watching. And if this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. There are people you love who need to hear this too. Until next time, stay radiant, stay true, and never forget, your soul is timeless.